Hey, welcome back. So in our last video, we got started making some placeholder CSS styles here. What we're going to be doing in this video is making our actual CSS styles for our loading indicator. So if that sounds good, let's go ahead and dive in and get started doing that. I'm going to quit Safari. I'm going to come into my loading indicator folder, and in here, I'm just going to duplicate part 1 and rename it to part 2. Part 2. There we go, and we can go ahead and open that inside of Visual Studio Code. The first thing we want to do inside of our CSS folder is create another new file. I'm just going to call this variables.css. And in here, I'm going to paste some variables. Now don't worry about copying all of this down yourself. I have included all of these variables in the link below for the description for this video for you to copy down and paste in. Okay? Command S to save. Next thing, if you want to learn more about CSS variables, I will show you where they live on the internet. I'm going to go over to Google, and I'm going to Google MDN CSS variables. Right here, I'm going to come to this first link, using CSS custom properties variables. And down here, you can see it is a convention to define variables on a root element, just like we are doing right here. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and quit Safari, and I'm going to direct my attention over to main.css, and right here, we want to replace our background color with a variable that we have defined. Since it is a gradient, we want to say background, and we are going to use a function built into CSS called var, and we just want to go ahead and inject page-background. Command S to save, and you can see over in our variables that is defined, it is a linear gradient going from a dark blue to a slightly lighter blue. Now, this isn't going to work just yet. The last thing we need to do before we see anything is link to our variables style sheet inside of our index.html file. So right below normalize, I'm just going to copy this, paste it, and I'm going to call this variables.css, command S to save. If I minimize my Visual Studio Code window and open index.html inside of part 2 in Safari, you can see our linear gradient is taking effect. It goes from dark down here to slightly lighter up here. So now that we know that that is working, we can go ahead and minimize our window. Go back over to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to close my Finder here first, and we can keep working. I'm going to direct my attention over to loader.css. Now what we can do in here is start swapping out some static properties for some variables. The first thing I'm going to do is delete this background color aquamarine because we don't need that anymore. After align item center, we want display flex. That is fine. Right here for the height, I'm going to inject a variable. We want to say loader animation size, loader animation hyphen size. And below, we can just copy and paste that for height as well. Command V, I'm going to Command S to save. Now for our page loader dots, remember the center dot is basically the parent when it comes to the loading indicators. So we can just replace this with var, and we can pass in loader hyphen dot hyphen 3 color. Color. Below, we want to swap out 10% for a variable as well. So I'm just going to make another call to var right here. And what we want is hyphen loader hyphen dot hyphen size with a lowercase z, my mistake. And we want to copy this one more time to show it right here. Command S to save. And we can go ahead and keep working. For our page loader dot, we can go ahead and get rid of this default background color red that we were working with before. And on this class, we actually don't have any variables to inject. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. For the first dot in our loader animation, we want to give this a background color. Using the var function built into CSS once again, and we can pass in loader hyphen dot hyphen one color. I am going to copy this and paste it below just to save some time. Down here, we can just swap out 1 with 2. And the third dot down here, technically the fourth dot since the parent is the center dot, so we're just going to say 4. And the last one is going to be 5. 5. And the last variable we want to inject down here is for our page loader percentage class, so we are going to make a call to the var function, and we're just going to pass in off-white. Command S to save everything. If I minimize my Visual Studio Code window and I open index.html inside of Safari, you can see we have a much nicer set of styles. Now I think that's a good place to stop for this video. In the next video, we are going to be adding our own custom fonts as well as animating our loading indicator. I hope you're looking forward to that. Stay tuned.